is second one is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And third one is related to employee assistance program, also known as mental health at workplaces. So we have been strongly promoting about being aware of your own mental health and about being aware about your surroundings. And mental health is a conversation that we are promoting that should be part of our day-to-day conversations with our colleagues, with our friends, with our family members. And that's why we have invited a very esteemed person who's going to talk to us about it today. So on this call, we have Veena Ramnath. She is, on this occasion of mental health, going to take us through a conversation, which I'm sure you're all excited about. She herself is a conscious culture enabler, conscious leadership coach, and meta motivation coach with 15 years of work experience across manufacturing, IT, ITES, education, and training. She supports leaders at all levels of the organization through the Conscious Leadership Program, which entails self-awareness, led development, interventions, and focus on leading with purpose and conscious communication. So Veena is here and she's going to spend next 60 minutes with us on the agenda that we had listed on our, and you can see it here, that what mental health entails, because many a time we are very confused that if I'm trying to drag myself out of the bed every day in the morning to go to work or to do something, simple things, what is it all about? We don't put our finger and say that maybe it is a mental health issue. So this is a conversation should happen on day-to-day conversation. This should be one of the discussion that should happen, which does not happen. So she will take us through that discussion today, the impact areas of mental health, and also tools to bring awareness about ourselves, managing our mental health. So without further ado, I invite Veena to take on the stage.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Smita. A very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to be sharing time and virtual space with you all today to talk about something that's very important and relevant for our current times. So there's finally so much I would say noise about mental health, because we're still in the very nascent stages of understanding, right? So given the gravity of this topic and the limited time that we do have, the agenda for today's session is pretty much clear cut. We are going to share some perspectives about mental health, what it really is all about, and also maybe to demolish some common myths around mental health and what are the various challenges around addressing this. And also, by virtue of my own personal and professional experience as a coach and a trainer, what are some of the tools that have been effective for myself personally, as well as for my clients as well. Having said that, there is no one size or one solution that fits all when it comes to mental health. So whatever resonates with you, please do take that, and I hope you're able to move forward with that. And this is not a typical webinar where I'm going to be downloading content on you. There's already plenty of content available on the internet. The idea is to open the dialogue about mental health and share our perceptions to see what is working, what is not working. So I invite you all to use the chat option extensively, and also if you want to unmute and share your thoughts, then that would be even more fantastic. So can we make this a participative session, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. So we begin with an exercise. Okay, so please do humor me if you do have a pen and paper with you, or if you don't have a pen and paper, you can still do it with a finger on the air. Okay, you have 40 seconds to draw a car. You have 40 seconds to draw a car. Your time starts now. Just let me know if you're done. You have 40 seconds. 30 seconds now. Draw a car.
Done.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Done.
great, fantastic. So how many of you looked up the picture of a car on your mobile or on your laptop, or looked out the window to see a car and then draw it? Did anybody do that?
No.
No.
No, I think it's safe to say that. So this particular characteristic or trait of us human beings is what makes us unique, and at the same time, it also poses the greatest challenge. This is the singular reason for most of our problems. The thing is, we all have this. Let me just share the screen. We all have this, image or idea planted in our heads by virtue of our past experiences, or as a result of conditioning or our belief system that is there embedded in us, and we have these images. So the problem with this, or what makes this a challenge, is that when we have this image for everything, we tend to look at the world, right? We tend to look at events, and we tend to look at whatever is happening around us, not as they are, but we see them as we are. So this is what makes our own world unique for us. And this also is a challenge, because we're not seeing things objectively. We're always seeing things through the lens of the idea that is there, the image that is already there in our mind. Now, this especially comes as a challenge when it comes to addressing mental health, because there are so many perceptions and perspectives around this. To objectively identify, be aware, and then address it becomes challenging because of this very reason. Okay, so if you will just humor me with one more exercise. Okay, so I'm going to show you a series of images, and if you can tell me what possibly comes to your mind about the mental health about that person when you see that image. Yes. So the first image is, what do you think about the mental health of this person? Can you say anything?
Cranky.
He might be just teasing someone. Like bachchon ke saath khelna.
Okay, right. Playing with somebody. Okay. Let's see if there's anything on the chat. Having fun, excited, fun, goofy. Okay. Somebody said anger. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next picture. What comes to your mind?
Taking care.
Taking care. Smita says
Stressed.
Okay, stressed. Okay, stressed. Multitasking.
Balancing.
Okay. Focused. Work life versus family life. All right. Stressed. Okay. Do take note of what answers, what responses are coming in, because we are getting to a point here.
Excitement.
Okay.
Anger.
Frustrated.
Probably celebration of winning something big.
Okay,
yes, I got it.
Big. Okay. Then we have somebody again saying taking out frustration.
Worried.
Worried, tired.
Fatigue.
Fatigue, dreaming, depressed.
Break.
Okay, we have work pressure coming in, frustrated again.
Break. That is break from something. Work break after a long day.
Okay, taking a break after a long
Tired.
day. Tired, bored. Okay, we have exhausted coming in. Okay. Any of these people, what can you say about them?
Happiness.
Happiness, okay.
Spending good time.
Spending good time, all right. Social well-being, okay.
Socializing.
Camaraderie says Smita, okay. Devlina says good time.
Living at the present.
Living up the present, okay.
Being comfortable with each other.
comfortable, okay, well connected, bonding. All right. Just one last image.
Bored.
And
Bored, okay, worried, confused, not focused.
Bored.
Ginny
Last
says
comment.
has invested in crypto, okay. Confused.
Bored.
ও প্রথম থেকে উঠে গেছে। ওই সেদিনকে বৃষ্টি হচ্ছিল তো, যেটা লাগেনি, তার আগে আমি তুলে দিয়েছি। আমাকে বলেছিল অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওরা।
Okay, so we
খুলে
have a lot of confused coming in. All right.
খুলে দে, খুলে দে।
So there's some background noise coming from somewhere. Thank you. All right. So if you recall my question, what was it? What was my question? Original question. There were so many different perspectives coming, right? What was my question? What can you comment about the mental health of all of these people just by seeing the image, right? So if you look at all the responses that we've got, it's varied, right? But we were never really able to pinpoint the mental health of that person. Can you really comment on the mental health of a person? Forget just looking at an image. Just by looking at, how somebody is or how somebody is coming about, just by one single incident, it becomes difficult to comment on their mental health status. Now you can talk about how they are feeling. You can talk about what emotions they are possibly undergoing at that particular time. So one of the challenges with mental health, or addressing that, is first of all being aware of it, being identifying it, because it is not as easy as it looks. There is a whole lot of complexity when it comes to mental health, and the human mind still continues to remain one of the most unsolved mysteries, biggest mysteries in the world. And we still have numerous studies going on, neuroscience, neurobiology, trying to understand how the human mind really works, what triggers, what ticks off, how we really, how that translates into behavior. So precisely because of this, identifying what the mental health status of a person is becomes quite a bit of a challenge. So it is very important that we bring that awareness, we raise that awareness, not for anything, but for us to get the right intervention or the right support for ourselves and for those around, right? So at least for that we need to be aware of certain things. So in that sense, right, self-awareness becomes very critical. So before we go into self-awareness, let's take a look at more on what mental health really entails. So tell me, what comes to your mind when you think of the term mental health? What according to you is mental health?
Stress.
Okay, stress, right? What else? Imbalance, okay.
Depression.
Okay. Depression, okay. What else? What else? What comes to your mind? Dealing with the world around us, emotions.
So not able to focus on few things.
Not able to focus on few things, okay.
Alan
Happiness.
Anxiety, okay, as important as physical health. Anxiety, okay, coping with the situations. All right. Peace of mind.
Work-life balance.
Work-life balance, okay. Anxiety and stress, being at peace. All right. So we have so many different ideas and thought processes when it comes to what mental health is, right? It is everything that you said, but if we were to really get technical, right, mental health, if you see, it's simply a state which looks at how our cognitive, our emotional, our behavioral state is. And yes, Deblina says it's all about keeping oneself calm. It's to go a bit deeper, it is about how we think, feel, and behave, and how we respond to challenges or stressful situations, how we how we come about in our interactions with others, and how we make healthy decisions or choices for ourselves. So basically, it is our emotional, psychological, and behavioral way of being. That it's a state, right? I'm going to introduce one more term to you. What do you think then is mental illness? If mental health is all of this, it's the state of our emotional and psychological and cognitive being. What is mental illness then? What do you think mental illness is? Okay, it's a disease caused due to imbalance in the brain. Okay, the disorders, losing balance and sanity of mind. Okay, okay, yes.
Psychological change, like, they don't be normal. They are always under stress. It impacts their physical health as well.
Right, right. So, okay, and then we have some more coming in the chat. Not able to control your thoughts. It's a state of mind different from normal days. Unable to be in sync with the present. Fantastic. So we do have a very aware group here. It's only about opening up to the conversations to that. That's wonderful. So if you see mental illness, right? As you said, it's all that entire range of psychiatric or mental health disorders, which has a negative impact on the way that person thinks, feels, and acts, and it is an impediment to the daily functions. Now we call something as a mental illness when it stops them from going about with their normal daily functioning, like eating, sleeping, working. When all that is hampered, yes, it's, as Prashant said, it's also confusion in thinking. Okay, it could be a part of that, yes. So it is an entire range of psychiatric disorders. It could even be eating disorders. It could be phobias. It's not just when we say mental illness, people immediately talk about depression and anxiety, but there is an entire spectrum out there, right? You have some psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorders. You also have eating disorders. We also have phobias that stop people from doing what they want to do, right? So there's an entire spectrum out there. I'm going to introduce one more term here. What do you think then mental wellness is? We've spoken about mental health. Then we've spoken about mental illness. Now we're talking about mental wellness. What do you think that is?
Care of the mental health.
Okay. Care of the mental health. Okay. What? Balanced thoughts. Okay. Yes. Rational. All right. What else? Getting rid of mental illness. Okay. Being able to address mental illness, emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Yes, spot on what Sumangala says. Well-being of physical and psychological, being able to cope with negative and able to choose positive. Yes, being able to respond proportionate to the stimuli. Absolutely, absolutely. So spot on. So mental wellness means, yes, stable mind. Your mind is in order and you're functioning to the best of your interest, and your thoughts, feelings, and actions are creating a positive impact on yourself, on your physical being as well, and also on your social well-being. It's everything that you said, right? Now that you have, now that we've like unpacked what mental health, mental illness, mental wellness is, I'm going to ask you one more question. What do you think is the opposite of mental illness? What is the opposite of mental illness? The opposite of mental illness could be mental wellness. Okay. Normalcy. Okay. Healthy mind, good state of mind, mental wellness. All right. Being normal, work from home. Okay. So the opposite of mental illness is not necessarily mental wellness, right? And Sumangala says sane, right? So mental illness also need not necessarily mean insanity, right? I mean, in a way, yes, it could be insanity, but that's like using a blanket term for so many other mental illnesses which don't really touch upon the realm of sanity. So what I want to convey here is, yes, Swapnil says illness can be temporary, absolutely. So the opposite of mental illness is not mental wellness, because we have what is something called as the mental health continuum. I hope you're able to see the entire spectrum, right? So if you see this, right, you have starting from being in crisis to struggling to surviving to thriving to excelling or flourishing. So, for example, somebody who has a mental health disorder, right, could be in crisis mode and they're not showing up at work. They're very exhausted. They're not sleeping well. They really have serious issues. Once they come out of it, does it mean that they are automatically mentally well? They are flourishing. They are in full potential. It need not be, right? They could have been in crisis. They might have just moved on to maybe they are in survival mode now. They're just able to survive, and it might take them some time to go on to thrive, right? Not everybody who's thriving can automatically move on to the excelling mode where they are in high performance and in the flow state. They could still go back to just being surviving because of external circumstances. So this is called as a mental health continuum, because it doesn't mean that if you are in one part at some point of time in life, you're going to be stuck there for the rest of your life. We keep moving across the gamut of all of these areas of the mental health continuum. So it's important for us to be aware of that any point of time, yes, we can be there. And as Swapnil pointed out on chat, the illness or the crisis can be temporary, right? Even a 10-minute anxiety, what Swapnil says is that, it's a mental illness for that time. So what we can say is, at that point of time, yes, the mental health has been compromised, right? So it pays to bear in mind that, we can be anywhere on this particular spectrum, depending on the external circumstances and where we are at also internally, right? Where our internal resources are. So the challenges around mental health, if you see, right? One is this lack of awareness that has been there, though, as we said, it's, people are talking about it more and more now, but we are still in a very nascent stage, because we are still in the knowing stage. We have not moved on to the doing stage where mental health is priority. We talk about it, yes, there comes a mental health awareness day, an international day for mental health, even a week, right? And after that, it just goes quiet, right? We only know what it is, but have we taken the action to actually prioritize mental health? We still have a long way to go in that. It happens only when we keep the conversation going. And one of the major outcomes of this session is, how can we not just restrict it to one day or 1 week? How can we keep the conversations going so that something concrete can be done to address these issues of mental health, right? Yes, as Swapnil says, acceptance is the first step, right? And talking about it and taking help are the biggest challenges. Absolutely. So we also saw, right, it's difficulty recognizing the signs. Even for that person who's having a mental health crisis, are they really able to spot the signs, right? So it's not just by one particular incident where somebody has an outburst and you can't categorize them as having a mental health issue. It goes deeper than that. It is much more complex than that. It will probably involve a deeper investigation and a deeper conversation into what all has been happening for us to even classify that somebody is having mental health issues, right? So one is difficulty recognizing the signs, and there are so many myths surrounding this. We are going to dive deeper into the myths surrounding mental health as we progress in the session. And also the social stigma, right? In spite of everybody talking about it, we still Yeah, we give high priority. Srijana says, yes, for physical illness compared to mental illness, right? It is okay if, somebody says they broke their arm, or, somebody had a heart attack, or somebody fell sick. We sympathize with them. But when it comes to this mental illness, right, there is still a stigma attached to it. Yes, that's, and more than the social stigma, there is also the self stigma. Yes, especially for men, right? It comes with a feeling that if I admit that I have mental health issues, am I going to come across as somebody who's weak, somebody who's not good enough? It is my fault that I'm this way. It is again linked to the social stigma. So, that person restricts themselves from getting the support they need, the interventions that can probably help them, because, they sort of go into self-blame mode. And therein comes the difficulty in accepting support. Yes, I'm glad that so many of you are this resonates with so many of you. That's the first step, admitting that yes, there is a stigma, and that needs to be challenged and done away with. And also the unwillingness to take action, it comes from the space of having to put in a lot of effort. It is not easy, right? When somebody is in that mental health crisis, it takes enormous energy, and they really need to push themselves out of that zone to take action. So sometimes they would rather wallow in that state than take the necessary action. So these are some of the challenges that are there around mental health. So as a first step, right, we spoke about awareness. Let's do a mental health check-in. Let's take a few minutes time. It's absolutely worth it, where I would invite you all to do this check-in at least once in 2 weeks, right? What is the first thing that we all do when we feel under the weather, or we feel that coming down with the temperature, or some symptoms of flu, or there is a pain or ache somewhere? What is the first thing that we do? To be honest, I used to always go to Google to check my symptoms. But apart from that, right, what is it that we do? See the doctor? Yes, we see the doctor. And what does the doctor do? Now it says self-remedy, okay. Medication, all right. But before prescribing, what does the doctor really do? Check, absolutely. So we do a
Ask for the
check-in.
symptoms.
Yes, the symptoms and the diagnosis, right? That becomes very important for mental health as well. So we have a host of diagnostics when it comes to monitoring our physical health. We have blood tests and scans and all of that. But the thing is, no amount of scanning is going to tell us whether we have a mental health issue, right? Shika, we will come to your question. I'm making a note of your question about the responsibility of an organization if somebody is suffering from depression. Uh, we will get to that. Thank you so much for asking that question. It is very important, because people spend most of their waking time in office, at least even if it's not a hybrid situation. But most of our time is spent at work, so it is very important for organizations also to be cognizant of that, and have a support system in place. We'll come to that, Shika. Thank you for that question. So no amount of scanning or any of these diagnostics is not going to tell if somebody has a mental health issue than a self check-in, right? A self check-in is what is going to make a big difference. So if you can ask yourself this, right? These questions: how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Are you able to identify any part of it? Any part of it resonates with you? Because this is not just how you're feeling now, but by and large how you have been feeling the entire week or the last 2 weeks. See, nobody can feel good or great 100% all of the time, right? That is just not possible. But by and large, what has your state been? Are you able to identify? Are you able to identify how you have been? Okay. Okay. Super. So if you identified, okay, not all the time, okay, all right. Maybe you could take a screenshot of this because I would it would be good if you can do this check-in with yourself at least once in 2 weeks, so that you're aware of where your mind space is, so that you can take the right actions to ensure that you're not moving to the red end of the spectrum, right? So I have some more follow-up questions. You can make a note of these. It's not just how you're feeling. Are you really heading towards a mental health crisis? So the question to ask is, am I sleeping well? Or, is it disturbed? Do I have trouble sleeping? Am I waking up often? Do I have nightmares? Am I eating well and fairly healthy food? The mind, body, and spirit are part of the same system, right? One can affect the others as well. So it is all interlinked. If I'm not mentally fine, it is also going to reflect in my eating habits, where I'm going to, probably not eat healthy. I'm just going to, go on a junk food binge. And yes, that's like a vicious cycle. Eating junk food is not going to do so much good for my mental and emotional health as well. So are you eating properly? Are you eating on time? Are you eating fairly healthy food? Have I been nice to others? See, if I'm not feeling good about myself, I'm definitely not going to feel good about others, right? So have I been by and large nice to others? Also, yes, it is not humanly possible for us to be nice to everybody all of the time. Again, by and large, have I been good to other people? Have I been kind? Have I been, loving to my loved ones and friends? How am I coming about to other people? Have I done anything that has brought me joy recently? Right? If I'm wallowing in that sense of, low mental health, right? I might not really step out of that to do something that's going to give me joy. So what is taking up most of my headspace? What is it? Am I worrying about something? Am I anxious about something? Am I angry about something? What is taking up my headspace, right? And how am I when I wake up in the morning? Am I looking forward to that day, or am I, dreading stepping out of bed? Do I think that I'd rather stay in bed the entire day? How am I when I go to bed? Am I feeling fulfilled, or am I feeling like tired and I'm thinking like, thank God the day is over? Is that how I go to bed every day? And am I looking forward to anything in life? Are you able to answer all of these questions? Are you able to answer these questions now? You can take a screenshot of this so that you can use this as a check-in for yourself from time to time. Yes? Okay. So moving on, right? Moving on then. This is one of the tools for you to see where you are at mentally and emotionally as well, and take the necessary. So this is where the awareness comes in, the self-awareness. Nobody else can do it for you. Only you can do it for yourself. And this self-awareness is going to serve you well to take the next action steps to, if there's anything to be remedied. So we spoke about awareness. Now we talk about the myths around mental health, right? That mental health issues are uncommon. Actually, they are not uncommon. Okay, so all of us at some point of time or the other would have faced some mental health issues, right? The sooner we accept that it is not so uncommon, anybody can have mental health issues, the better it is for addressing that. This again, that mental health problems are a sign of weakness, right? In fact, people sympathize, as I said, if you have a physical health issue, but with mental health issue, they say, why don't you just snap out of it? It's all in your mind. But to overcome a mental health issue, actually, it requires enormous strength than, recovering from a physical health issue. So it's actually, somebody has to be really strong for them to survive a mental health issue. And the belief that only people without friends need professional help. it's good to have a support system that you can fall back upon. Yes, we definitely need that. But sometimes that may not be enough because, a professional knows how to go about it. They have a structured way of offering assistance. They have the necessary expertise and experience. And if we can get past that social and, self-stigma of reaching out to a professional for help, I think that's going to do wonders for somebody who's suffering from, mental health issues. This again, that mental health problems are permanent. This is not true. Mental, as we discussed before, we can move anywhere across the spectrum just because. Thank you, Debarshi, for appreciating whatever is being presented. So mental health problems are not permanent. A person can recover from a serious mental disorder with the right support and the right treatment, and they can move on to have a healthy life. And the other myth, right? People with mental health issues, violent and unpredictable. Some people's character itself might be that they're very unpredictable. They like to they have their own whims and fancies, and they like to be impulsive. Does not make them somebody with you can't categorize them as somebody with a mental health issue. In fact, people with mental health issues can also wear a mask where they can act like everything is really fine. This happened to a close friend of mine as well. None of us knew that there was something really serious going on, because they were being their usual joyful self and making jokes and strategizing really well when it came to work, but they were in such a crisis, right? So this was okay. There's a request for everybody to mute so that there's no background noise. I think that stopped. Thank you, Adele, for pointing that out. So people with mental issues, you can't, that's the entire thing, right? You can't categorize that this is how a person with mental health issue will behave. It is still so complex, right? How one person might behave is so totally different from how another might. And again, the differences in perception is what makes this challenging. This is coming back to the question that was asked about, what organizations can do, right? If you think that you can't do anything for a person with a mental health issue, please remember there is so much that you can do just by being there for them without being judgmental, right? Without saying stuff like, you can just snap out of it. I'm sure it'll be all right. Those are that's just mere lip service. That's not going to help them. How can you be really there for them, listen to them, and maybe provide them, especially organizations, right? They can provide people with provide people access to the right resources that is going to help them shift out of that that particular issue. So there is definitely things that you can do for somebody that who's suffering from it. The best of all, be a non-judgmental and patient sounding board for them. Yeah. And you only need to take care of your mental health if you have a mental health condition. Yeah, and also keep confidentiality of their mental state to prevent fear of stigma. Yes, Swapnil, absolutely. That is very important. You need to respect that, and that's a sacred space when somebody is confiding something of such such gravity to you. Yes, you definitely need to keep it confidential. This is like saying that if I'm not sick, I'm not going to take care of my physical health. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to eat right. I'm just going to eat junk, and come what may. I'm not I'm not sick, so I don't need to worry about my physical health. The same goes for mental health. You don't really have to have a mental health condition to start thinking about mental health. It is necessary for every one of us to prioritize mental health as well. And the fact that successful people cannot have mental health issues, we only need to look at all the celebrities who have admitted to having mental health issues. So success is not a indicator of whether somebody is susceptible to mental health issues, right? So are there any other myths that that come to your mind apart from what we have discussed here? Is there anything else that you can think of? there anything that comes to your mind? Okay, so in the interest of so please do keep it going in the chat if you have something to add to the myths around mental health. So the idea is when we share all of this, people with mental health leave jobs too soon. They have failed relationships. Absolutely, Divya. That's again another major myth that people can't hold on to jobs if they have a mental health issue. That they can't have good relationship. Absolutely spot on. People who crack jokes are happy all the time, are mentally happy and satisfied, but in turn they use this to hide their pain. Okay, yes, that's again, stereotyping that, they're wearing a mask and, they're hiding their pain. Yes. So keep it coming so that, we are all aware of this, whether we are unconsciously, acting on these biases, on these myths. Yes, it will really help us to be much more sensitive and compassionate and empathetic when faced with, those situations for ourselves or for our loved ones or people around us. So we spoke about this other extreme, right? Mental health issues means someone is crazy, very rude. Okay. Yes. Yes. Again, yeah. The sanity is questioned, but even a phobia is a mental health issue. Even an eating disorder is a mental health issue. Does not mean that the person is crazy, right? So, thanks for sharing that, Sumangala. So we spoke about mental disorders. Now that is something that definitely I'm not qualified to. Really delve deeper into mental disorders. But what we're going to talk about is mental wellness, and there is one particular term, right? This is our topic of interest right now in this session. This was a term that was coined by sociologist and psychologist Corey Keyes, and it was made popular by organizational psychologist Adam Grant, especially during the pandemic, where most of us were in this state. It is the mid state. Does anybody know the term for it? I can give you some clues if you want. It's a state where you're not depressed, but you're not happy. You're not hopeless, but you're not joyful either. You're not burnt out, but at the same time, you've stagnated. You're not moving above. You've sort of plateaued. Surviving, yes. Okay. There's lack of motivation and focus. You're just on autopilot. You're just clocking in, clocking out, doing what needs to be done, and just being there. Okay, the term for this is called languishing. Are you familiar with this term? Have you heard of this term before? Languishing. Okay, so languishing is a term that is used to, it comes in the realm of, yes, surviving, where, you're not sort of feeling anything. You just get out of bed, do what needs to be done, come back and do again what needs to be done, and go to bed. There's nothing remarkable, nothing extraordinary. Yes. So, how do we, have you experienced this? Swapnil asked, is it being in a robotic way? Yes, it is sort of being in autopilot, right? That doesn't mean that you're not feeling any feelings at all, but there are no extremes, right? You're not in the flow state. You're not performing to your best. You're not performing to your full potential. Neither are you performing badly. You're somewhere in the mid. You're just going through life. You're just going through, right? In a way, yes, it is robotic. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever experienced this state? Have you been in this state at any point of time? Yes, especially during the pandemic. For me, those 1 year, yes, it was just doing what was needed to get through that. When is this going to end? Okay, let me just go through, right? Now, research says that languishing is actually something to be taken note of, because it is a precursor to somebody moving on to that the other end of the mental health spectrum, where they could end up having a mental health disorder. Swapnil, it's pronounced as it is spelled as Languishing. Languishing, right? So languishing is something to be aware of, because we are not depressed, right? So we don't pay attention. We don't even realize that we are languishing, because only if you're depressed or you're sad and you're angry or frustrated, there's a red flag. But this is like this. There's nothing. Not depressed, but I'm not happy either. I'm not like really looking forward to anything. So this is something to be aware of, right? Let me ask you this. Yeah, it is what I said before. You don't have to be sick to get better, right? You can definitely go on to feel better about every aspect of your life. Okay. So let me ask you this: what is that one thing that we all as human beings are striving for? That one thing that we're all for sure striving for. What are we striving for as human beings? Happiness, yes. Absolutely. Peace of mind or happiness. We all want that next thing, the next big thing, right? We all think that having a good job, or having this particular promotion, or having this, being in a particular relationship, or, having a better house or a better car. We think that, there's always a milestone. Yeah, this is going to make me happy. This is going to make me happy. So we're always striving for happiness, right? And we also want that is inner peace, or whatever that is, right? Where your mind, body, and spirit are completely aligned. So how can we have that? How can we, be in that state of happiness? If not for anybody, for yourself, I think you owe it to yourself to live to your full potential, whether it is professional or as personally, having that peace and that joy and the happiness, right? So mental wellness is not just about not having mental illness. It is about thriving, really. It's about flourishing, right? So how do we get from languishing to really flourishing, right? How do we get there? So where do you all live? Where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? What if I tell you, I can tell you where you live at least 50% of your waking time? I can actually tell where you're living 50%. Yes, Swapnil. Again, on the, yeah, Sanati, yes. In our head, okay, there was a Harvard study that was conducted by a couple of, psychologists, where they tracked what people were doing, and where their headspace was when they were doing various things, right? And it was found, what they call as the human condition. We are lost in thought almost 50% of our waking time. If we are awake for, say, 15, 16 hours, almost 8 hours, we are there in our head, okay? It doesn't matter what we do. And because we are there in our head all the time, we are hooked by our thoughts, we end up being unhappy, right? So it is this trait of mind wandering in human beings that is the most important cause of unhappiness in us, right? Imagine this. You're worried about your performance appraisal. Maybe you're stressed. You think it's not going to go well. You keep thinking about it. And you're sitting in front of the TV watching your favorite show on Netflix, but you're not able to enjoy it because you're there in your head, right? It doesn't matter what you do if you're going to be there only in your head. So which is why it is very important that your mind and body being part of the same system, they have to be aligned for us to be happy. So if we are going to be constantly lost in thought, then it doesn't matter what you do. You might be with the person you love the most. You might be with your children. You might be at a really fun party, but you're not going to have that fun or joy if you're lost in thought, right? So how do we address this? Because this is one of the most important reasons for us having those issues of even mental health, overthinking, right? Swapnil, overthinking, it wouldn't be a mental illness, but it could certainly lead to that. Where there are different personality types, right? If somebody has a tendency to overthink, if it is helping them in some way, yes. If it is helping them to be cautious and be aware of the risk and take action, then it is fine. But if it is stopping them from living the life that they want to, Swapnil, then it is a problem. Then it is a disorder, because anything that impedes your normal functioning, anything that borders on unhealthy, it is stopping you from doing what you want to do, or it is stopping you from living your life the way you wish to, and you're holding back, then definitely it is a cause for concern, Swapnil. I hope I answered your question. So what do we do when we are hooked, right? Now, this is again a technique or a tool. Yes, the OCD is definitely a type of mental illness. Depending on the severity of that, yes, it definitely needs intervention at some point, right? If it's really stopping you, if it is harming you and others around you, then yes, it is. Then you do need to seek, that person needs to seek support. So what happens when you're hooked by these thoughts, right? When you're in that overthinking zone, there is a technique which we call naming it, taming it, right? So we start with, how am I feeling? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling, upset? Am I feeling ashamed? And then you go on to question, what are the thoughts behind it? Say I have an argument with somebody and I'm feeling angry. So is the thought behind it that that person disrespected me, that person insulted me, or I think that that person doesn't value me at all, right? If I think the person doesn't value me at all, is the thought true? Or is this only a one-off event where the argument got heated and things blew up? So if the thought is not true, then I let go of the thought and the feeling there itself. If it is really true, is it in my area of control? Can I do something about it? Can I do something to change that person's perception? Can I get into a discussion from a space of peace and harmony than reacting out of emotions? Can I then make them look at my perspective and understand their perspective? If it is not in my control, then I just let go, right? If yes, what is the action that I'm going to take? So somebody asked me, right, Joel, yes, we'll get into this. Joel, what can be done to eliminate overthinking? Definitely, yes, something can be done. As someone who has, overthought for most of her life, I can, relate to that, and I can tell you from experience, it is possible to reduce, right? So we will get to that. Now, if you look at this naming it to taming it, I would request you to keep this in mind. Somebody else asked me, in the heat of the moment, is it really possible to, ask yourself all of this? Is this practical? Again, I tell you from my experience, and also as a practitioner of mindfulness, it is very much possible to take a step back, pause, and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Is it really, are these thoughts really, what are the thoughts behind this? Is it really true? If yes, can I do something about it? Is it in my area of control? It really gives back the power to you to manage the situation, respond, rather than react to it in a way that might be adverse to you and the other person, right? So, Joel, this is one of the ways to address your overthinking, right? What are the thoughts? Where are these thoughts coming? A very important, perspective that I want to share with you all is, not all your thoughts are true. I repeat once again, not all your thoughts are true. If you remember this, you will be able to manage this overthinking to a great deal. The question that you need to ask yourself is my thought true? Right? Most of the times it comes from our own feelings of inadequacy, our own biases, our own, faulty belief systems. It might not be true at all, right? It could just be based on assumptions. So if I don't know, I would rather assume that, yeah, it is not true until I know otherwise, right? So this is not easy, by the way. It comes with practice, right? Swapnil, manifestation, yes, that's an entirely different area. Okay, Kaushik says the biggest challenge is to let go of these thoughts when we know they are false. Yes, Kaushik, that is the biggest challenge. It comes with practice, right? Okay, Dawood says, how am I feeling? What if someone always feels low and negative? They won't be able to move on to the next question. They go deep into stress. That is very valid, Dawood. Now, if that awareness is there, right? If somebody always feels low and negative, and you know that if it is for somebody else that you're asking, then you can help them with these questions. You can ask them, you can, facilitate that for them. If it is for oneself, right? If you're in a low state, yes, it might be difficult, but it comes with practice. It is like, working on your physical fitness. Am I able to, I may not be able to go work out every day. I might feel really low some days. Some days it is okay. You might take some extra time to, get out of it. It is still fine. But unless and until you make a habit out of it, right? Unless and until you consciously want to act on it. That's why I said the unwillingness to take action, right? That is one of the biggest challenges. So you need to want to take action. No matter what anybody else does, the person also has to want to. Yes, that is a major challenge here. So you also need to, it has to be a habit. You need to have this habit of asking yourself, reflecting, are the thoughts true? How am I feeling? Is it true? Is it in my control? So it is like any habit formation. It is like any physical fitness routine where you have to keep at it. There is no other way. You have to put the work, which is why mental health or mental wellness is also a lot like physical wellness, where you have to do the work. There is no shortcut, unfortunately, for that. So mindfulness is something that I have been practicing actively for quite a while now, and it has worked wonders for me. It's just simply being in the present, right? Doing what you have to do, and focusing on that. Not letting these thoughts come in. So without judgment, without judgment here is, I'm not labeling things as good or bad. When something happens, right, what defines that for us is the way we label it, right? If I see a plant coming up from nowhere out of the crack, right? If I'm somebody who's very, critical, I might look at it and think, oh, it's going to damage the wall, right? That's my perception. I'm already labeling that. Somebody else who's a lover of nature might think, oh my God, this is so beautiful. It's sprung out of nowhere, right? So it is our perception of what of any event that becomes our reality, rather than what that reality actually is, rather than looking at things as they are. And this thing of accepting what is, right? It's not being passive. It is just accepting, okay, there is an issue. Only when if you're going to keep fighting, right? No, how can this be? How can they speak to me this way? How can I, how can this happen? Then I'm resisting, I'm not accepting. So when I accept that, okay, there is a problem between me and this person, what am I going to do next? I accept that, I'm offended by what they said. So what next? So that is the accepting that I'm talking about, not passively being a doormat and, letting people walk all over you. That is not what the acceptance here is. Now, mindfulness again is a completely, whole session by itself. I'm just putting it out here as a tool that is worth exploring. You can also check with the team at KelpHR for if for your organization you want some sessions on mindfulness, especially to deal with mental health or emotional well-being, or if you want even mindfulness for leadership, right? How can you lead with mindfulness? How can you work with mindfulness? Being productive by using mindfulness. Please go ahead and get in touch with the team at KelpHR. Together we can look at organizing some sessions on that. I'm going to leave this at this in the interest of time. Dawood, half full concept again. Yes, that's, please talk on taking counselors help maybe for 1 minute. Okay. As Swapnil has asked about taking counselors help, right? This again comes with all the stigma attached to it, right? It is simply, it's like how you go to a doctor for, a physical ailment, right? The ultimate thing is for you to get better, for you to feel better. And if going to a counselor is going to help you with that, then why not take that step? right? Now, counseling is also completely confidential. Counselors are, bound by their professional code of conduct not to disclose details of what you have confided in them. So it's an absolutely confidential process, and it doesn't matter even if you're only at the surviving part of the mental health spectrum. If you think talking to a professional is going to help you become better, go on to the flourishing or the excelling, move on from languishing to flourishing, then by all means, I would definitely encourage you to take on the support of a professional in this, right? So, as I said, just like how we exercise for physical wellness, we also need to exercise for mental wellness, right? This is not just to move out of mental illness or disorder, but to be really mentally well and strong. How can we be mentally strong? So, self-awareness, being aware of your stressors, right? I was going to ask you all to take some time to reflect on this, but in the interest of time, what you can do is you can take a shot of this and reflect on this post the session and think of what this means to you, right? What brings you down? Are you aware of your stressors? What lifts you up? Are you aware of your own energizers, right? And what drives you? A reminder of your why, right? We are meaning making machines. We are most energized when we have a purpose in life. So what is it that drives you, that's going to help you get through even the most darkest of time, right? Why are you alive? What are you contributing to yourself and to others, right? So it is important to be aware of all of these, so that just to take action to shift, when things are not so good. And the other aspect is, our attitude to change, right? Though we say change is the only constant, we always are in fight mode when it comes to change. This is not so much as, reluctance to accept the new things, but our fear of what will happen if what we are familiar with comes to an end, right? It is that fear. So how can you be comfortable with change? It is by making small changes in your routine. It could be nothing life altering as such, but how can you make small changes? Maybe you the way you eat, or where you eat, or where you sit and work. How can you make these intentional changes so that you're getting comfortable with change? So we derive our life, right? Each one of our life is the basis of the meaning that we derive out of it, right? How we look at something. So just a bit of reframing, right? When something not so good happens, how can we reframe that by asking, instead of why me, look at asking, why is this happening, right? And instead of asking, what did I do to deserve this? What can I learn from this, so that whatever has happened does not go in vain, right? What can I do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? What can I do to ensure that I become better from this? Right? It doesn't come naturally to us, because we like to go on to wallow into our sadness and into all our low feelings. It takes practice, it takes self-awareness, it takes a lot of intentional strength to get into the zone of questioning ourselves. Why is this happening? What can I learn from this, right? But when we start doing this, only better things can happen to us. And of course, it's important to have a support system, as Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with, right? So it is important to have a good support system that you can fall back upon, who will be there for you, who are not going to judge you. So in order to make yourself, give yourself that assurance, I would also ask you to take some time to look at your support mechanism around. Who's that person that you would call anytime you're afraid, you're panicked, or you want some help? Who are those people, or who's that person who's always been there for you? Who's that one person that you just feel comfortable? Be thankful for having those kind of people around. And that's the kind of support system that we should all be looking at nurturing. And not just that, how can we also be that kind of a support system for the people who are close to us. How can we be somebody that somebody can fall back upon? But we can't pour from an empty cup. So we need to make sure that first our cup is full before we go ahead and help someone, right? So as I said, the mind, body, and spirit are part of the same system. So it's also about eating well, having healthy habits, and working on our physical fitness, and nourishing our spirit in terms of doing what energizes us more, what gives us happiness, and building healthy relationships. So it's a combination of all of this. I would like to close this session with this thought. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? But they were laying the bricks every hour. So like physical health and mental wellness is also that. It's not something that you acquire in one day or even in 1 month. It's a lot like that. You lay the bricks day by day so that you're building a strong foundation for mental health. It is not about being happy all the time. It is about the ability to manage challenges so that you're able to bounce forward even when there are setbacks, right? So it's built on self-awareness, accepting change, being mindful, learning and meaning from events, and building a support system, and doing everything you can to have that mind, body, spirit alignment, so that ultimately you're building a strong foundation of mental wellness, right? So this is what we had in mind for you in this limited time of 1 hour. If there is anything else that you would like to ask, or if you feel that your organization wants to dive deeper, more into mental wellness, or how even mindfulness can be a part of your uh, uh, managing your work, or harmonizing work life, or even leadership, then please get in touch with the KelpHR team. I think that's all we have time for now. So thank you so much for giving me the space and the opportunity to talk about this. I really had a good time, and I do hope that there is some takeaway for all of you from this. So yes, thank you all. Have a very good evening. Yes, and wish you all physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veena.
Sanati or Deepa, are you there? Is there something that you would like to?
One more. Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, Veena. So thank you everybody for attending the session today. Veena, it was really, really great to have you on with us. There were a lot of great points that you covered. And everybody else, thank you for your participation in this session. We had a lot of participants chiming in with their thoughts and experiences. So it was a really informative one. For any questions or concerns that you may have regarding mental health for your employees, you can contact our team at KelpHR. And thank you again, everybody. We will be ending our session here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.